Hello, everybody, and welcome to this month's session with Heidi and Ben.
Which side am I on?
I'm Heidi Chamberlain-Jones from Eat, Sleep, Live, Herefordshire, and Ben.
I'm Ben Kinnaird from Rather Inventive.
Okay, lovely to see you all. There's quite a few of you booked on. So please, we'll introduce you to how this works, because there's a lot of you that I can see haven't been to one of our webinars before, and maybe some of you that haven't done it for a little while. So what we do is we can't see you, you can see us, but there's a lovely chat column to the right-hand side. So first of all, we'd love to see who's already here and for you to do a bit of networking between each other. So please, right into the column down here. I'm just going to put a little hello and welcome to get you started. And then you can chat amongst yourselves as well as asking us questions throughout the session. Sometimes we will be able to catch your question as it comes up, but other times we may save it and refer back to it. So please don't think we're ignoring you. If you want to answer each other's questions, if you've got a little bit of knowledge on something, by all means, share ideas. This isn't just one way is the right way and our way is the only way. It's for you all to share your tips, knowledge, and perhaps learn something new from each other as well as from us. So welcome everybody. It's a 60-minute power hour. We don't want to go over that time, but if we're going well and you do want to hang on, we might be able to go on for another 10 minutes if there's a lot of questions. So today's session, to make sure you're on the right one, is on Instagram and also on auto posting, and Ben's going to do the auto posting session, which I'm going to be fascinated by. Certainly, because there is a place for auto posting and life's too short not to be using it. So I'm going to be very interested in that. And I'm going to talk to you about the benefits of using Instagram and some of the tips and tricks to enhance what you're doing already. And that's a good question, is what are you using Instagram for already? So have a good hard think about that, and also think about whether Instagram is the right platform for your audience, because everybody says, oh, you should be doing all the social media. Oh, everybody's on Instagram. You should be on Instagram. Well, perhaps for your sector, we've got quite a diverse range of different industries here on this webinar with us today. Maybe it's not the right thing, and maybe that's why you're sort of thinking you're not getting any traction on it or not as much as you'd like. So have a think about whether Instagram actually is right for you. But after this session, maybe it's just because you could be using it better. So let's say hello to some of the people here. Oh, hello, Celia from Rowden Mill Station. Twice in a week we've met each other. How lovely, once in the flesh and once virtually. Just to let you know that we were out in Bromyard at Little Pomona doing a bit of cider tasting in the week this week, and Rowden Mill was there. But Organics, hi Martin, lovely to see you. Kirsty, I don't know you, Kirsty. Are you one of Ben's customers from a machinery company?
I know Kirsty Smith.
Yes, lovely.
Yeah.
Hi Lizzie, hi, lovely to see you. Risbury rapeseed oils and all the marketing you do for lots of other people, including the lovely people. If my camera dips in and out, just bear with me, I will come back.
That's where I remember you, Kirsty. Yes, Contraback. I thought I remember the name, but yes, Contraback was the company.
Yes. There we are.
On.
And welcome to the people from Taste Herefordshire, which is a fantastic new website where you can shop for lots of fantastic Herefordshire foodie products. They've just launched, so please go and have a look at them. Pop your web address up there, Simon, or whoever is there. There's a few of you here from there today. So good, lots of people. Hello. Hi, Dunfield House. Hi, Lakes Edge. Hi, Liz. Gosh, lots of lovely familiar faces. And Francis from the Wildlife Trust. Oh, keep networking. Helen from... Oh gosh, Helen from Simmons Bars, Sink Green. Gosh, there's been a lot going on at Sink Green Farmland this week, hasn't it, Sue, in the last couple of weeks with the old bomb squads there and goodness knows what. Not that they've got any bombs at Sink Green Farm. You can still stay there safely. Anyway, let's crack on. Let's get into the session. Otherwise, we will run over. For those of you that haven't met me, I'm Heidi Chamberlain-Jones. I'm the Managing Director of Eat, Sleep, Live Herefordshire, which is the official destination marketing company for Herefordshire and puts Herefordshire as a visitor destination on the map. We work with Visit England and Visit Britain, and we work with, probably just over 200 members now and growing every day. So anybody who's a tourism member who wants to think about joining us, have a chat with us later. I also own Minx Media, which is a marketing consultancy, a business development consultancy. We do all sorts of training and help with your marketing and leadership and management. So that's me in a nutshell. So then we are going to go into some of the services we provide. We do all sorts of marketing things. I'm going to let you look at that slide later on, because what we're here for is not to do a self-serving promotion, but to help you use Instagram. Okay, so these are the questions you're probably tearing your own hair out with. How do I get more followers? How will people find my page? And I don't know what to post. We all go through those grey areas from time to time. And we all go through a bit of a writer's block. And sometimes we get a bit bogged down with it, and sometimes we can't get back into gear. So let's see if this session will re-inspire you and reinvigorate you, because when you're first starting your business, everything's new and exciting and you've got lots to talk about, and then we go a little bit stale, don't we? We think, how can we recreate all of this conversation? So Instagram for business, very different to Instagram for personal use, very much like Facebook for personal, very different to Facebook for business. And coincidentally, in case you don't know, Facebook owns Instagram. So that's where you'll find some similarities, and that's why you'll find you can connect your two accounts, and we'll talk about whether that's a good thing or not. More than 25 million companies are on Instagram, and these figures are about 12 months old. They haven't done a current survey. 200 million users. So that's people that out of that 25 million companies, that's the business side of things. 200 million users are all the rest of the people that aren't businesses, but could be your customers, maybe a proportion of them, but that's worldwide. So when you start breaking all of that down, you need to think about where your customers are and who they are. And we're going to keep doing that with every thought that we have through this session today. So first of all, make sure that your Instagram is a business account and not a personal account. And you may not even have realized that it isn't, because the setup, when you first set it up, you set up a personal account, but you need to switch to make it a business account. It's very easy. You might want to do it if you're not watching this on the phone now. You might want to do it while you're watching this. Just go to your settings. Go to your Instagram page, obviously your Instagram page, go into your settings, and it will ask you whether you want to switch to click yes. It won't do any harm to anything you've already got. This account does is give you better statistics and metrics and functionality that a personal account wouldn't, that will really support what you want to do for your business. Excuse me. So the second thing, and this seems really boring and a bit corporate, but it's have a strategy. With all your social media, please, please, please have a strategy. And what that means is figuring out what you want to achieve, what your business goals are, and aligning your social media posts and activities to what your business goals might be. Think about who your target audience is. That's what business is all about. Who can I sell to? But making sure that when you're using social media, you're not selling as hard as you would in your general marketing. So have a strategy. Think about how you're resourcing what you're doing with your social media. And that means how much time you're putting into it, who's doing it, how much this is all costing you, and what you're gaining back from it. A strategy constantly asks you why. You can find strategy templates online. Just Google social media strategy template, and you'll probably be able to download one for free. And what it is lots of little prompts. It'll then ask you with every post, you can have a little checklist with it, which will say, have I done this to my post? Have I put the right hashtags with my post? Have I thought about this, that, and the other? It's lots of little tick lists. It's very, very useful to have a strategy. So what are your competitors doing? on Instagram, have a look and learn from other accounts. If you think, crikey, so-and-so's doing really, really well, how are they doing that? Well, some of the things that we'll introduce you today might help you to understand why they might be getting really good results. Some of them, I just can't figure out how some of these people are getting the amount of interaction or perceived interaction. But we'll talk about whether some of it is real and some of it is not so real as we go through. So learn from other people. Look at who's following your competitors, because if somebody's in the same sector as you are, in the same industry as you are, they could well be potential customers for you too. So there's no harm in you looking at who they are and trying to capture them, and set yourself some goals. And this isn't just about, oh, getting more followers and how many followers did I get from that post, or how many have I managed to get this week. And a lot of, we manage a lot of people's social media accounts, and sometimes our customers are a little bit too hooked on, well, you didn't get many followers this month. And we say, no, but look at the engagement that those posts have had. And engagement is things like web clicks, how many people then clicked on that client's website link, how many people clicked on their profile, how many people then suddenly started liking all the other posts we put behind that. So it's not just about how many new likes and followers that you're getting. So let's move on. So first things first, setting up your profile. It's always worth revisiting your profile, because you might not have done it for 12 months and might have thought of some things that could enhance it, or maybe your profile isn't set up so that it's at its most optimum. Get your page found. This is the first step to getting your page found. So have a look at the profile description. Don't be vague. Don't assume that people know what you are. State the obvious and tell them exactly what you do. If you are a fantastic foodie website for all things Herefordshire, put that on there. Now let's think about some of the hashtags that you could put with that. What's a hashtag? A hashtag is a signpost. It's something that people might be looking for, a topic or a subject or a trend. Now, food is a huge trend. So the word foodie attracts a lot of people. So if you hashtag foodie in your profile, if people are looking for that, they will come across your profile. If you don't hashtag it, they may miss you. If they're looking for all things Herefordshire and they're interested in that, put hashtag by the word Herefordshire. It's little things like that. The same applies to accommodation. If you're a beautiful country cottage in Herefordshire that sleeps X amount of people, or a holiday cottage in Herefordshire, those are key words. It's all about that. So make sure that they're highlighted in your description so that when people are searching, they can find you. You can see here there's some examples. Riverside, camping, staycation. You'll soon get the hang of it, and we'll talk more about hashtags further on. So give your page name a clear identity. Don't make it something random. Don't call it whatever your personal name is, because that won't mean anything to anybody. Call it your business name. That's what they're going to be searching. That's what you want them to remember. And if they move off the page, that's what they might Google later on. Make sure your website is in your profile. It's the only place in Instagram where you can put a live link, because Instagram doesn't put hyperlinks into your post. It doesn't highlight them, allow people to click through. Little bit of a common mistake. People will put very complex links into their posts and think that people can copy and paste them. They can't. People change their links in their bio, in their profile, which is also called a bio sometimes. A little bit of language there. So if you've written a new blog and you want to say link in biog, then that's great. That's fine, because people then go back to your profile description, click the hyperlink there, go straight to your website where that particular blog is, if you want to promote a blog or a product or something like that. Now, of course, there are other things which we're not going to talk about today because we won't have the time, which is retail websites and having a retail account with Instagram. That's a bit more advanced, and I know some of you might want to know a little bit about that. We'll try and touch on it, but by all means, come back to me and ask me again another time, and we'll maybe have a one-to-one. I can think of a couple of people that might find that interesting. Make the description professional but not stiff. I sort of think, oh, the first thing I do is look at somebody's description and think, oh, they sound a bit boring. They're not going to be for me. I want my Instagram to be fun, bouncy, maybe that's just because of I'm the type of person, and maybe your industry doesn't allow you to be too fun and bouncy because you're a bit technical, but that doesn't mean that you can't talk about it in an engaging way in your profile. If you were to introduce your business to somebody in 30 words and you were face to face with them, how would you make that interesting? So think about that for your profile, and make your profile image your logo, your identity, and something clear for people to see. Okay, now how do you want your feed to look? I expect you've noticed as you've looked at maybe other feeds, some of us may be using Instagram for personal use outside of our business commitments and looking for interior design or fashion or food, all sorts of things. And you'll notice that not everybody's page is laid out the same way. Their feed perhaps have got some pretty little dimensions to it. Now, you can do that with your feed. Bloggers, particularly and influencers, they will stylize their feed. Now, if this is something that you think is going to really be important in attracting people and retaining new foot flow to your Instagram, by all means do it. But it does take an effort. And unless we're aiming to be, I don't know, the industry, which we'd all like to think of, but it does take a lot of time and effort to do that. And once the more you do it, the easier it is. But you can see some examples here. Whoops. On the far right is actually Eat, Sleep, Live's feed. And you can see very distinctive because the pictures are all of a similar style, they're all very green, and they're all lush, and they're showing countryside. And you'll find that our feed is very much about that, because that's what Herefordshire is. It's green and lush and beautiful, and a place where it's rural. It's not full of high-rise buildings, so that's not what we're featuring on there. And funnily enough, there's our Kerry right in the very middle of that. She's on our session today. Say hi to Kerry, everybody. One of Team ESL. And in the middle, you'll see that this is somebody very keen on fashion who's sort of stylized theirs in a pink color. Now, what I like about this is she's chosen things that are all tones of pink, because that's obviously her favorite color. But sometimes you want to put a message up. You don't want to put an image up or a graphic up. And you think, I want to put a message up, but it's going to spoil my feed, the look of my feed. Well, if you stylize the message, you can see the middle row on the far left, she's got some words in there. And what she's done is she's graphic in the colors of her feed, so that she can still put a message up there, but it still doesn't destroy the cosmetic look of her feed. So that's something to think about. So if you want to put some wording up there, try and keep it in the style of your brand, because she's created a brand there. That is very different. Even the boxes are a different shape. They've done that through Instagram. You can create that. I'm not sure if it's for me. I find that a little bit distracting, and it doesn't allow me to look at the image, see the images properly. But that could be just the way I'm viewing things. I'm a very kinesthetic person, and you can easily create a look like that's a bit different. It's very distinctive. But if those things are important to you, have a think about the mood you want to create, the brand you want to develop. If you always want your images to look in a certain way, then that will identify, you would be able to instantly look at your account and say, yes, that's so-and-so's account, because they always have their images that look like that. So make sure that's a positive reaction. So you can use filters. Instagram's got its own image filters in there, so you can constantly use the same filter to have the same kind of effect on your pictures. The types of images that you use, but try and create a little bit of a brand vibe. Okay, so let's see. So what to post? The age-old question. Oh, and hello, Lake's Edge. Now, I've got to say to you, if anybody needs to go on holiday in Herefordshire and have a glamorous taste of the countryside, Lake's Edge is the place to go. They've got these amazing, brand new, barn-converted holiday cottages, each with their own swimming pool, indoor swimming pool, rain or shine. How fantastic is that? Up at Puddleston, North Herefordshire, near Leominster. Anyway, little plug for you there, Lake's Edge. And I've been enjoying your Instagram. It's quite a young account. And what I'd like to see from accommodation providers are I want to know where I'm staying. So I want to know what I'm going to be sleeping in, what's great about that, what I'm having for breakfast, perhaps, all the nuances of the accommodation that I'm going to be staying. If it's self-catering, I want to know all the details of that. And you've got endless fodder for that. What's in the lounge, what's in the kitchen, what's in the bedrooms, why the bathroom's special, what fixtures and fittings have you used. Now, some of you might think, oh crikey, I'm a very traditional place to stay. It's my stuff is vintage, shall we say? But talk about that. Why not? You know, if you're a traditional farmhouse bed and breakfast, talk about the history of what you've got there and give people a bit more of an insight. But again, try and create a theme. Maybe if you are more traditional, make sure that your filter on your images portray that, because it gives people a good feel. So what could you be actually posting up there? Crop into things if you want to. You don't always have to take a whole big room and try and pack everything in, because quite often we're not professional photographers. We haven't got a fisheye lens. If you can, please invest in a professional photographer. I can't advocate it enough if you need photography to sell your business, as many of us do. But if you are doing it yourself, maybe just accents of things. And you can see, for example, there's a lady in the bottom there taking a picture of a bedroom, but she might actually, in the actual frame, just of the pillows, the headboard, the color scheme she's got going there, the type of fabric that it is. So it's just a hint. So you know that that's a modern place and they're using contemporary colors. So it's not all about trying to cram everything into a photo. Take different angles, start practicing, learn from other people's pictures, and start thinking, how can I recreate and have some fun? These things taken on a phone, but if you've got a camera, use it in the same way. Instagram's all about images. That's where it's less descriptive, but more about images, which is ironic, seeing as mine's just disappeared. Food. Delicious dishes. It's a shame that Matt, this is for you from the Crown at Woolhope, who unfortunately hasn't been able to come to us today because he's had to jump behind the bar by being short-staffed. But Matt's one feed from his chef is full of fantastic food that they have up there. Now, that's really attractive to me as a pub. They've just launched a new accommodation, and I really want to see pictures of all of their rooms. That's configured. They've got an amazing kitchen there, which has been converted from their commercial kitchen, so people can use it to have big parties whenever we're allowed to have those again. But this is all the things we want to be highlighting. Think in terms of your consumer. Don't get bogged down with you as a business owner thinking, well, that's just what I can see. Think what consumer are. And let's, organic. Wouldn't we love to see a slow motion, salivating at the thought now, a slow motion pouring of a lovely cold beverage from you, sparkling in the sunlight, and somebody perhaps pushing that down. What an evocative Instagram post would be. Let's see a little bit of fun going with this, because the more people like, the more that Instagram is going to put you at the top of the feed, might give you a little bit more scope, might let your post run on for a few days longer, because you've probably noticed that people are clicking on your post a few days after you've posted it, and that's because the higher the engagement, the longer the longevity that Instagram will give you on your posts. So that's good to know. And again, don't chat with your consumers. You know, you wouldn't sit at a dinner party, and we say this about all sorts of social media, and just sell your product. If somebody, you tell them a bit more about your backstory and what's making your product special. So do that with your Instagram account as well. Very much in the vein of food and drink, let's say, for example, for Taste Herefordshire, you're all about telling the story of the provenance and the producer of your food and drink shops, your retail products. So use Instagram to do that and really get behind the consumer. Have a lovely picture of I think you've got the the ladies that do the lovely conserves and pickles and chutneys. Tell their story with a picture of their product, and then do a mini blog underneath it. That's what people want to see. And this will give you huge scope for hashtags, which we're going to go on to in a moment. Okay, how are we off for time? I won't be too much longer. Okay, this is an example of a post that we put out in May, so high COVID time, so we couldn't find an excuse for people not being on social media. They were on social media an awful lot, and they still are, because some people aren't able to go back to work. They're looking for things to do. This happens to be one of our best performing posts this year. Now, what's special about that? Now, I might be looking at it and thinking, okay, what's special? I can't figure it out. I can't see it. But to a lot of other people, that is a quintessential picture of England that we were all craving at the time. It's a feel-good picture. It says life is still okay. And the reach this had, 7,500 people this reached. Well, we don't have that many followers. I wish we did. We're working on it. 532 likes. We've never had that amount of likes. Normally our posts reach a couple of hundred likes tops, but which we're very pleased with, but 532. We thought, how have those people engaged with this? Why? Now, if you look at your insights, which are really important, go to your insights on every single post and it will tell you what's worked on your post. Now, as you can see from here, we only attracted, out of all of those people it reached, 4 new followers. That might be disappointing. It's not to me. I don't mind that. That's not a problem. So the impressions is how many times people saw that post. The reach is how many people saw that post. So some people saw it more than once. You can see how they discovered that post. Over 6,500 people saw it through the hashtags that we put in. Now you're going to ask me which hashtags we put in, aren't you? Well, if you actually go to our Instagram account at Eat, Sleep, Live Herefordshire, go to the 18th of May. It's only about a couple of scrolls down. You'll be able to see all the hashtags in that post and have a look at it and study it. From home, that means from the feed that people were looking at the time. So 1,200 people saw it there, but nothing like the ones that saw it from the hashtags. So that tells you how important the hashtags are. 136 of them were looking at our profile. They actually clicked onto our profile and wanted to see specifically what Eat, Sleep, Live was posting rather than just waiting for it to come up in their feed. Now, that's lovely. That's really flattering. And that's an important metric. You want to know how many people are really invested. You can't see, unfortunately, from these metrics who they are, but you'll start getting a bit more of an idea of what's working and what's not, the statistics. So getting your post seen, a bit more on that. The way to do it is to post regularly. And when we say regularly, not just once a week, that's not regularly. It is regularly, but it's not enough. Target yourself to post. We like to post daily, but that's us. You may not be able to commit to that. Think of a goal that you will be able to commit to, maybe 2 or 3 times a week, maybe set your days. With Instagram, you can't schedule your posts, but Ben might be able to help us with a bit of an auto posting tool later on in the session. So think about what you want to post and when, and start having a look into your insights as to when people are looking at your feed and at Instagram the most. So start looking at whether we find that for us, they're looking a lot from 12 o'clock onwards on a Sunday and a Sunday evening. People seem to be engaging much more. Also midweek, they're looking quite a lot, but it's mainly in the evenings. So we're putting out our posts so that they're fresh in the evenings for people. So there's no point putting something out first thing in the morning for us, because that doesn't seem to be working, but it does on Facebook. So it's all different. It's not one time fits all. So have a look at when you can post. Instagram loves regular posters because they're the ones that are getting lots of clicks, and those are the ones that they will put to the top of the feeds more often. So the more regularly you can post, but don't bombard Instagram with 3 posts a day, because you'll switch your viewers off and they won't engage with your posts, and it's wasting your time, resource and efforts. Save your good material, because your posts will start becoming poorer quality and you may not realize it, and then you'll start thinking it's not working. Well, actually less is more. Plan ahead, as we've said. Create a planner to stay in front of people. Refine your timing and make sure you've got good quality pictures. If you need to, use an app. We love Snapseed. It will make the most abominable picture look amazing. So if you want to get, there's loads of apps out there, but if you want to use certain filters for your Instagram again, then these apps are really useful for doing that. But enhancing things, putting things into high def, making dark images look great, taking shadows out, making things look clearer. So even if you've had a mishap but think, oh God, I really want to use that picture, an app could be the way. You've got a few little things that you can do with Instagram, but it is limited. It's mainly filters. And then it's all about the hashtags. Let's have a little look at what hashtags are for. Hashtags are topics, trends, and interests. So if you're looking for anything either, well, all over the internet, it started with Twitter, really, hashtags did, and seems to have migrated across to Facebook, and then Instagram is totally built on hashtags. The maximum amount of hashtags you can put on is 30. The optimum amount, they say, is 11. Please don't put hashtags on that aren't relevant to you just because you think they're popular hashtags. You'll start knowing which are popular hashtags once you start typing them. Another tip is, let's say you're in the travel industry and you start typing travel. You'll find that loads and loads of hashtags start coming up with the word travel in front of it. And you think, oh, 3 million followers are following that hashtag, I must use that one. Well, why would you want to be one little pin in a haystack? Why not look for something that perhaps has got several 100,000 followers, which is still a lot, but chances are you will stand out a little bit more, because Instagram, when you're looking for something, you'll notice, put certain things to the top of that feed, and you having more chance of being at the top of that feed, and therefore more people will see you, more people will click on you, become more popular with Instagram. So keep them relative to your posts. And little tips are, let's say you've got a fabulous holiday home or a bed and breakfast, and you've revamped the bedroom. Don't just think of it in terms of tourism and stuff like that. Think of it in terms of interior design. These are huge topics on Instagram. And maybe put a few interior design led hashtags in there. Color schemes, food and drink. Maybe if it's breakfast, start tagging in that foodie element of it. Don't just constantly think in one tunnel as to what your sector is. Have a little play. And if you Google best hashtags, you'll quite often get a lot of advice on the internet as to what are the best hashtags to use. Stories and highlights. Oh my God, I am jabbering on today. Look at it, 25-1 already. Instagram stories, you might be wondering what those are and how to use them. Stories are those lovely little, when you're looking at Instagram, you'll be able to see stories of other people, and they like these illustrations on here, and what they're for is sometimes they reach an audience that might not be at your actual feed or their feed, and find you during that timeline. They will stories go up at different times. They only last 24 hours, but what they do, certainly I use them to put things up that I might want to promote, but I don't want to put on my feed because it doesn't fit with the profile of my feed. So I know that we promote a lot of our members through stories, because then we can share their posts, we can share their stories. And the way to use stories is, again, to put hashtags on there so that people can find them. They're discoverable. Put your own hashtag on there. Put other things like the location. If you want people to come to where you are, put your location on there. And if you have a look at some of these illustrations that are on this slide now, you'll see that there are some little, I'm going to do a little test with you. The one on the right, that's actually me at a festival, Beer on the Wye festival. Hi, Kerry, it was a great time. Thank you very much. You'll see that actually is probably an appalling story. It's got no hashtags on it, so it's not discoverable. It's got no links on it. It's got no tagging of anybody on there. I could have tagged Beer on the Wye on there. So I don't know why I put that up there. because probably it didn't get a lot of engagement. I'd have to look. But the great thing with stories is it will tell you who's seen your story, and it will tell you actually who those people are. So you can use that information to perhaps think, oh, they're interested in what I'm doing. Maybe they're people I want to follow as well, and connect with them. If you want to keep your stories for longer and you want people to see them going past the 24 hours, attach them to your highlights. You can just convert it while you're doing the story. Instagram will ask you if you want to add it to your highlights. So, and they will then appear on the top of your profile, and you can have lots of stories along there. Now, some people are even stylizing the cover of their stories. So you'll notice that when you see other accounts, some of their stories are just color coordinated and have got nice messages on there. Some of them are just the graphics that they've put behind them. So have a play with your story. So a great way of reaching an audience that your feed doesn't reach. So moving on. There's not much more now from Instagram. So follow other business pages. Have a look at who is in your sector that's getting a lot of traffic, and capture some of that traffic by engaging with their commenting on their posts, because what happens when you comment on somebody else's feed, their viewers see you and they think, oh, interesting. So make sure you're being polite and respectful to that account, and that you're not hijacking it, as we say, by saying, well, if you love this feed, you'll love ours, come and jump onto our page. That's not very nice, that's rude. But just, support that page and be kind. Something that we do is we actually like some of the people that have commented, that have left supportive comments on their posts, because as we go down, we just put a little like by the side of those users, because they could become our users. And that's accepted. People know that that happens. I'd expect it to happen from our account. So I think that's not too bad a way of stealing people's followers. So have a look at those notes there. And if you Google, if we're in the travel industry, if you actually Google who are the biggest bloggers, and you tap and you start commenting on their accounts, you'll see that you might get lost in the fray there. But then on the other hand, it might work for you. You might pick up some followers as well, especially if you're consistently there. So be a bit selective. Think about who really is of value to you and engage with them. Okay. And that's it. Yo! My verbal diarrhea about Instagram. I know that you've got quite a lot of questions. I can see there's 38 messages. I'm going to have a little look at those as his session. But if you'd like to follow us as Eat, Sleep, Live on social media, here are our handles. And I do have I don't post so much on that because I'm so busy with the Eat, Sleep, Live. And if you like our tourism newsletter, which lets you know when we've got other things like this going on, and if you're in that tourism sector and need some information at this really difficult time, please sign up for our newsletter. It's completely free and it will give you lots of important information. Okay. And if it does all become completely too much for you, our next slide says, hand it over to us and we can do it for you in a nutshell. But I'm going to let you read that when you get copies of this set, which you will get afterwards in a couple of days' time, when you're sitting there thinking, I can't remember what they said about this, that, and the other. Ben will very kindly send you all the slides and all of the video from this for you to keep referring back to. That is the beauty of these sessions. So I hope you enjoyed that. Feel free to reconnect with me afterwards, but now I'm going to hand you to lovely Ben, who's going to give you a lot more useful information on auto posting that can make your life so much easier. Thank you, Ben.
Thanks, Heidi. Lovely, Ben. I like that. I'll take that one. And just Heidi, while they're listening to mine, if you go into the chat, I've highlighted some of the questions that people have asked. So they should come through clearly for you. You can have a look through those. Thanks, Heidi. I really do like the way you describe things, like hashtags and what they're for. It really makes it simple for everyone, because I think a lot of people are scared of like, what is hashtag or how do I use it? But it's very straightforward as well, I think. So thank you for that. Well, I'm Ben Kinnaird. I've worked with, since we started, about 500 businesses now. in various different forms or various different help provided, from marketing strategy, web development, search optimization, video, and I do like delving into a bit of data analysis as well. I'm the host of our Inventive Marketing Club podcast, which is free. There's some details about that at the end. And I just love working with people to help them become more effective, specifically in marketing, but actually I just generally enjoy people's businesses and all the sort of highs and lows that they go through. So that's what gets me up in the morning, that and coffee. So I generally sort of focus on 3 different areas that I think are really important in marketing. You've got understanding your customer, engaging with them, and then converting with them. And then it's a nice virtuous cycle, hopefully. I'm just going to focus on the engagement part. And talk about sort of posting automatically and using tools to make social media posting easier. Now, a lot of this can relate to Instagram, but I'm going to talk more generally about automating social. I don't use Instagram at all. It's just, and not because I have anything against Instagram. I think it's actually quite a nice medium. It's just another thing to focus on. You know, we do a video on YouTube, we do stuff on Twitter and LinkedIn, and I've just got to put my hands up at some point and not worry about that. And I think that's a really good piece of advice is if Instagram isn't right for you, don't worry about it. It's not crucial. I think that it works really well for some people, but not everyone. I would say though that if you find you've got lots of lovely photos, really good photos, then you might want to check out Pinterest as well. If you haven't, because the thing about Pinterest, which is quite nice, is it's a very visual platform, but it's less timeline based and more search based. So people go onto Pinterest and look for something interesting, like a kitchen table or a painted piece of furniture or a new kitchen cooker, whatever it might be. So people tend to be researching on there. So it could be that the content that you put on Instagram could then be reused and put on Pinterest as well, if you're being specific about it. Anyway, let me get back to my bit. So I'm going to be looking at delegating work to the robots. You know, getting robots to do your work where possible is always good. But I think the biggest robot can be you. If you can figure out a way to put yourself on autopilot, actually we can get through a lot of work without thinking about it too much and go get yourself on autopilot. And that, for me, comes down to habit. If you can build a good habit about posting regularly and having a good idea about what you're going to post, that will only get easier over time. So if you can have good hygiene for what you're going to post and build up that habit over time, then that's a really good place to start before you start automating things. I would only look at automating social media posting when you know how you're going to save time. Don't suddenly think as I go through this, oh, that's a really good tool, I'm going to get it to chuck this out and that and do cross-posting between different services. It's just going to get a bit messy and you're just adding to the noise of social media. So I would try and do as much yourself, get a feel for what's going on, the conversation, and then look at where you can save time using robots or just tools online. So to get yourself on autopilot, I know that Heidi and I sort of bang on about this a lot, but really understand what you're trying to achieve and who you're doing it for. And try and focus on a core idea. That's where I think a lot of people make a mistake, is they just try and push out everything to do with their business. However nice it may be, I would try and focus on a core idea and stick to that initially, because it's going to make it easier for you to do because you're focused, but it's also going to make it easier for your brain to come up with ideas. And I'll give you an example of what I mean there. So pictured on the slide is, there are actually some tweets, but they could equally work for Instagram. In fact, I do think they post these out on Instagram. They are on-site photos. So when Alex goes out on-site, and he's an architect, he goes out on-site, he'll take photos of progress updates. Now, he was doing this anyway for himself and for clients, but with their permission, he started posting them out directly to Instagram or Twitter with a little comment. In fact, I think he puts them on Instagram and his daughter then puts them onto Twitter for him. What I love about this is you get to see the behind the scenes of a building being constructed or the surveying process going on. From start to finish, you get to see how a building works and what it's like inside. And for some people, that's fascinating. It's obviously not going to appeal to everyone, but it's going to appeal to his audience, which is a mix of potential clients, existing clients, maybe people in the trade. So if even if he's appealing to builders or other surveyors or other people in different councils, they may then have someone that they can refer to because they can see that Alex is sharing domain knowledge. So I really like the idea that he's come up with a concept of sharing the behind the scenes. I think he calls it on site. He'll share the photos online, and that makes it a lot easier to look for opportunities, because once you understand what your core idea is and what you're sharing, you will see those opportunities, and it won't be a chore. You won't think about it after the fact, oh, I should have taken a picture of that. You will start to say, oh, this looks really good. That will go really well in the feed for the on-site work. And in fact, it's worked so well that we didn't want to waste all of these lovely images going out onto the social feeds. So Esme, his daughter, also then collates the images and puts them onto the website. And we've made our own sort of Pinterest style Instagram feed on the website where they're just images, really, and a nice stream of images. So they're used both on social media and on the website. So I'm all for repurposing content where possible. So focus on your core idea. That's going to help in terms of putting yourself on autopilot. Plan what you can, like Heidi said. It's incredibly important to plan, but don't worry about it too much. You don't need to plan everything. I believe serendipity is going to play a hand in the rest, and you'll be able to fill in things around it. But if you've got a core idea of what you're posting, try and have some schedule to that. Post regularly, but be consistent. That's the most important thing. Use a spreadsheet if you need to make sure you're going to get it done. And the best thing about doing all this up yourself is it's free. You don't need to buy any extra tools. You'll learn how, you'll build up a habit, and you'll become a sort of a powerhouse on social media. That's the best way forward before you do anything else. But we all like tools, or certainly I like tools. So the first one I'm going to mention is Buffer. I don't know, Heidi, if you mentioned this, but it's a really useful tool for automating regular posts of information. And the way I look at Buffer, it's like a hopper. It's a big container, and you have all your posts and you put them into Buffer. And what Buffer does, which was unique at the time, I'm not sure if it is now, is Buffer will just drip those posts out on a preset schedule. So you don't need to think about, oh, I need to write a post, and then I need to think about when I'm going to post it. Do I post it now, or do I schedule it for a different time? You just write the post, maybe attach an image or a video to it, put it into Buffer, and Buffer will send, or it'll put out that post on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever you've connected, at a preset schedule. So if, like Heidi, you know, people look at your posts in the evening or on the weekend, then you can set it to only send on those times. So you're not wasting your posts going out at times that are inefficient for you or don't get the most engagement, and you don't need to think about it. And that's what I love about Buffer. You don't need to worry about it. Once you've thought about the times that things drip out on, you don't need to worry about it again. You can attach video and images. Sometimes it doesn't always work. Sometimes for big videos, you're better off posting that natively, but it's still worth doing. You can, I think it's free for Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram, but you can only have up to 3 of those. They do keep changing it because they're trying to eke out more people moving up to their paid account. I do know that Buffer, if you want Pinterest on there, that's paid, so you need to go up to their paid account. But I don't believe it's a huge amount. Certainly, if you're into using Instagram and maybe Facebook, it's going to do for you. So Buffer's definitely worth looking at. Here's what it looks like. This is just an example. We used to use, as I said, Twitter and LinkedIn. So we've got those 2 on there, and they appear as 2 separate accounts. And then if you want to share something, you can either just click on the time that you want to share it, and they're the sort of preset slots that I've already decided feel right for us in terms of when we're going to post. So you can either click on those and just start typing and then share, and it's going to share at that time. And you can't actually see it on the screen. There's just a message box at the top where you can just start typing, and it's going to drop into the next available slot. And I like it. You can drag them around. So if you feel that you've got too much of the same content together and you want to split it apart a little bit, you can just drag and drop them into different slots. So it's quite convenient for that. What it doesn't do, though, is conversation. So I personally feel that if you want to have engagement with people, you're better off doing that in the platform itself. So going into Facebook, going into Instagram or Twitter, and looking at the replies you're getting and communicate with them there. What what I'm talking about and where Buffer is useful is that planning ahead, that strategic planning of what information you're putting out on a regular basis. It's almost the sort of heartbeat of your social media, is the way I look at it. So that's Buffer. Okay, now this is one specifically for WordPress only, although you may be able to hash something together with other automation services. But this is a plugin that goes into WordPress. And what it does is it allows you to repost old blog posts. So it'll basically look through, based on a certain set of criteria, your old blog posts, and then it'll push them back out into Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. I don't think it does Instagram. But if you use Twitter or Facebook, that could be a really good way of having a from the archive post that comes out and gets shared with people. And it's a nice way, if you don't have someone dedicated to doing the marketing job, that you can have a robot, a WordPress plugin in this case, managing some of that for you. So that's worth looking at. It used to be called Tweet Old Posts. Oh, you've moved it for me, Heidi. No, that's all right. I've found Demio, as lovely as it is. If you're typing and try and use your back key, it navigates on the slides. Yeah, revive old posts. It's definitely worth checking out if you've got WordPress. You can even set the frequency, so it's got actually quite a lot of control over the content you're sharing on there. So that's quite good. That's quite a fun one. And in fact, I remembered about this plugin because I wrote a book many years ago called Being Social. Or Be Sociable, I can't remember which title it was actually now, Be Sociable, with Helen Caldicott. And this was one of the great automation tools in there that I'd actually forgotten about. So I've started revisiting this more recently in the preparation for this talk. It's actually quite useful. So that's Revive Old Posts. A lot of you may know this one. It's called If This Then That, or If. And what this allows you to do is relatively simply connect up to online services. So I'll give you a couple of examples on the next slide, but it might be that you want to say, if something happens in my Twitter account, then I want to take that information and put it into a Dropbox or repost it on another Twitter account or save the file that was tweeted to my Google Drive. So you can use it to automate lots of social media tasks. And in fact, because it can do so much, you might have a hard time thinking about what problem it can solve. So the best way I'd look at this is if you're doing everything yourself, you're putting yourself on autopilot, you will come across things that you're doing repeatedly. And so that's where If This Then That can come in, because if it's that you are taking lots of photos, maybe you've got some, you used to deliver workshops in person. So you might take photos of that workshop and then put them into a Dropbox or Google Drive. If you put them into a special folder, you could get If This Then That to look at that folder and then automatically put them together and post them out to your online social media. And in fact, it could even put it straight into Buffer for you as well. So you can then chain those two things together. It's pretty simple to use. They've recently started having a pro account, which is paid for. So they now limit you to only 3 If Then That recipes or applets. But apart from that, it's very good. Certainly worth having a look at. Here's a couple of examples of what it can do. So let's say we had a tweet. We were, as part of our podcast, we had these funny things called podverts in there. So if you wanted to have your own mini advert, you could send a tweet, put hashtag podvert, and then it would put that text into a little Dropbox folder or spreadsheet for us. And then I could just review that on a weekly basis. So I've got that tweet data put into a little spreadsheet for me. Really handy, saves me a bit of time having to go onto Twitter and then search for the hashtag and then pull all that content off. Also, you could do something where if I think this might be an older one now, but if if you wanted to, oh no, this would work. So this goes along the line with my workshop. If you're at a workshop and you are using Instagram to post out what's going on, maybe doing some selfies of the workshop going on, if you hashtag the maybe workshop, then you could get If This Then That to pick it up and put it in your Dropbox. So it's sort of automatically collating those things for you. But there's no reason you couldn't do it the other way around as well. So there's lots of ways you can use If This Then That to just automate things once you know where you need to do that. If you want to go a little bit further, Zapier will allow you to do total auto domination. So it's like If This Then That, but more complicated and more powerful. It allows you not only to connect two applications up, but have multiple steps. Maybe put the information in different places. It's not for the faint-hearted. I'd certainly start with if this then that first, and if that doesn't do what you want, it might be worth moving to Zapier. Lots of steps, lots of filters, incredibly good, really. Here's a few examples. I use it to pick up journal requests. I don't know, Heidi, you probably know about this, but if a journalist wants a subject matter expert's opinion on something, then they might tweet it out and put #journal request on there. What I do is I search for journal request, but only if it's mentioning a few keywords that relate to me, maybe marketing, web development, stuff like that. And then it just sends me an email. So when that happens, I'll get an email that just tells me, oh, this person tweeted journal request. And then I can click on it and see the full tweet and get in touch if I can deal with that. So that's really useful way of using something where it's a bit more complicated. But it can do other things. I mean, you can have, I've used Zapier to control other things outside of social media, like sending invoices from one place to another, creating contacts when we have someone buy a club membership on Shopify. It can then automatically register them in Demio, so I don't have to do that for them. Saves a lot of time. So that's Zapier, but I wouldn't use that unless if this and that doesn't do it for you. And that's it in terms of automation. I think that just to summarize, try and do everything yourself first, because it gives you a really good idea about what you're trying to achieve. You'll be able to rapidly change and develop your process until you've got a habit that is working for you and you're getting the engagement you want. And then you'll start to see areas where you can speed things up, and that's where some of the tools I mentioned will work really, really well. So if you're interested in, I do lots of little videos like very similar to this on our marketing club. You can catch a lot of free ones just by going to sign up at ratherinventive.com/club. And there's lots of free ones on our podcast, or we've got regular tips that come out in our newsletter as well. Do check that out if you're interested. As I said, it's completely free and you get lots of fabulous information about marketing. Do we have any questions, Heidi, that we should go through here?
I'm just, I've been quickly answering some of them that from my little backlog. I think a lot of people are asking things, those automation tips were brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I've got a little question actually. I'm finding, and I don't know if anybody else is finding this, I'm finding I use Hootsuite and I have a paid for package because obviously we manage a lot of people's social media accounts. And Hootsuite does seem to be very sticky for me. It doesn't seem to want to attach all of the accounts, and it keeps telling me to reconnect the accounts. So I don't know if anybody else is finding this, or if they find that Buffer or something like that is preferential to them, because I'm always looking for new things to recommend to people. So does anybody use any of those automated ones like the ones that Ben has mentioned? And is anybody finding that something is particularly good for them with multiple accounts? I expect some of those that are managing other people's businesses and their social media are finding this. So do pop it on the feed if not.
I know that Buffer will have an issue with LinkedIn sometimes. I think LinkedIn seems to be quite aggressive about asking other services to recommit credentials. So I think Hootsuite might be the same sort of thing. There is another service, and I don't use this, but I've got a colleague, Jack McCautry, who does, called Sprout Social. I don't know if you've heard of that. What I like about Sprout Social, I don't use it for the engagement part of it, but it's got quite nice reporting that comes out of it to give you an idea about what's working. But that's paid. I think you don't think you can go into that for free. I think that is definitely paid, and it's certainly more than I want to pay for in terms of the way we use things. I'll try and get the price while other people.
Yeah, you're right, Ben, because I looked at Sprout Social and it was quite cost prohibitive, really, for what we wanted it for. Maybe you get what you pay for. I don't know. Maybe if.
Yeah, I think it's designed for large agencies. It starts at $99. So I mean, that's not, if you're using it constantly, then maybe it's worth it. You know, certainly the insight tools might be something that tip it over the edge, because that could give you the edge that you need over other people who are just posting independently.
Well, no, I mean, it's just so much more time saving if you can automate some of the posts you know you want to put out, and then engage at the times when you know you can engage, because most of us are owner operated. You're busy doing your own business while you're trying to do your social media as well. And even whoever is allocated to your social media is quite often multitasking with other marketing activities. We don't have the luxury. Social media is not free, and I think we'd all agree with that.
Yeah, that's incredibly important. It's such a useful resource. It's useful for finding new customers. It can be useful sometimes just for exploring ideas, by putting something out in a small way. But it's not free. No, not at all. I mean, we use it. Claire, my colleague, she will set out and do some of the basic posts, but I'll do the engagement. So if anyone's talking to me online, that's me, but she'll sort of set out the company line almost, the sort of main posts that go out. She'll organize that. So yeah, it certainly takes some planning and some time.
It certainly does. Oh, here we go. Karen Meadows, how do I upload a photo from Dropbox to Instagram? Good question, Ben.
I haven't done that, but I would say that you using If This and That, you'd probably it will give you a folder, a dedicated folder that you create in If This and That, and anything you add to that folder, you can say, if there is a file in that folder, then post it to Instagram. The best way to find out, just sign up for you can actually do a search to see what other applets people have created, to see what other recipes of these things people have created, and see if someone has done exactly what you wanted to save you making it. But usually just get a free If This and That account and just say, I want to start with Dropbox. When I put stuff in there, post it to Instagram.
Interesting. Yeah.
Let's give it a go. Yeah, I don't know. I've not done that before, but it's certainly a good...
And I think this is the thing, isn't it? There's lots of workarounds, and there's lots of different ways in which people can use different applications and different platforms. It's finding what works for you, how you can do it quickly. Because I mean, whenever I'm working something out, my husband works it out in a completely different way, and we're both using the same platforms. And he says, "Why don't use it like that? That's not how you should use it." And I'm thinking, well, that's my route to success. That's fine. So the key is experimenting. I think you're right, Ben, and figuring out something that works for you, making all of your work easier, smarter, quicker. And that's why we're all setting up systems and processes all the time, isn't it? To try and make finding your photos easier. You can guarantee you'll have filed them in a certain order, and then suddenly when you want that snowy picture, you think, oh, I wish I'd had a folder with snowy pictures in it, and not just with winter, which seems to have hundreds of pictures in it. So maybe there's ways of there are ways, as we know, of storing all sorts of things and making it easier. Okay. Ben, yeah.
There's a question from Helen. In your opinion, is it worth paying for sponsored posts? Now, I assume my only experience with sponsored posts is on blog posts. And I would say, yes, if done in the right way for search optimization. It has to be the right site. But when it comes to social media, no, I don't have any experience in that. Do you have any experience with sort of influencers, you paying an influencer to sort of pay to provide a sponsored post with talking about your product?
It depends what you mean by sponsored posts. If you're looking at the ones that are just appearing in the feed that say sponsored posts, it's like paying for a Facebook post to be boosted or to have a Facebook advert.
Right. Sorry, I know,
it's just the same. And there is some thought that Instagram, because it's owned by Facebook and it's making the money, will perhaps rein back your organic reach in favour of trying to get you to spend some money. But if you do want to try, I'm certainly an advocate of trying things periodically, especially if you want to target a certain market and making sure that your post is relevant to them. So I think it can be good. It's only as good as your post is, and trialing and erroring what makes a good sponsored post, again, is a fine art, and there's no formula. You obviously want calls to action on it. That is crucial, because you want to tell whoever's seeing it what to do, what you want them to do. If you want them to go to your website, follow your account, whatever it is, tell them to do that. In terms of getting influencers, that's about building relationships, actually. And I mean, I think we all know when an influencer's been paid to do something, and I tend not to, well, I tend not to look at it in the way that it's an organic post, because they've got to put that it's an advertisement. And I'm thinking, well, it's a little bit disingenuous then.
It's funny because I think if you've got that sort of paid or sponsored post on something like a podcast or a video, I think it can work better because it's in line with the content you're watching. And if it's done in a genuine way where that person would recommend it, just that they're just happening to be paid for it, and they let you know, I think it works really well. With Instagram, you don't get that context around it, do you? It's that one post is all about the sponsored element. So I'm not so sure.
I try doing some stories. If you want to promote something that's not on your feed, I try doing some stories, because I find that I can almost make them more adverty, and you can still put all the tags and links, and as people have been saying in the feed, the stories gives you a lot more graphics and fun things to play with on there, and you can actually get a lot of engagement through your stories. We get a lot of new traffic through our stories, a lot of new followers on Instagram. Kirsty's asking how she signs up for the next session, which is on MailChimp on the 28th. So Ben, you'll be putting out a link for that soon, won't you?
Yeah, that'll go out on the follow-up email to this session, and we'll make sure that's
fabulous. And those of you that are through the ESL network, we'll obviously be putting that out in our Facebook group and also on our newsletters. You'll be able to find it fairly easily, but if you just want to know and drop us a line, and you haven't seen it somewhere, then just drop us a line and we'll let you know.
Good. Just maybe the final question here, but a really good one from Martin, actually. Do you think videos are likely to have a better reach than still images? The video I put on recently seems more popular than my usual posts. I would say yes. I mean, again, I'm not familiar with Instagram in that sense, but everything else, yes. Video seems to make such a difference. It's going to get seen by more people, and you've just got people seem to like videos more. There's something you can do with it. There's a bigger story you can tell, certainly if it's done right. For SEO, it works better. I mean, video is still great to use.
I'd agree. I think video is always more engaging. And Martin, as obviously yours is borne out already, it seemed more popular than your normal posts. I mean, yes, it might have been. I'll have a look. It must have been a brilliant video. But yeah, something moving, something active is always going to have more engagement, I think, than an image, for sure.
Yeah, we found it that we post whenever a podcast comes out. We'll post immediately when the podcast has come out, but we also do little short animated GIFs. So just it's a short compressed version of my intro, very quick, but you can see some movement and maybe a little introduction to that, and that has much more effect and much more engagement than just the post going out, because people can see what it's about very, very quickly without having to click and read the blog post. So yeah. Keep doing that.
For itself. There we go. Okay. All right, everyone, we're past our finishing time. It's 9 minutes past 2. Thank you all for hanging in there. That's been absolutely brilliant to have your attention for this time. It's been really enjoyable for us. I've loved meeting some new faces, and thank you so much for all your engagement. I'm really pleased you found it all useful. We're only touching the very tip of the iceberg on a lot of these topics. So I apologise if some of you are a bit more advanced than this and had hoped for some other things, but I think everybody, it's a good refresher if you're already using a lot of these things, and there's always something that you come away with. So I hope you've enjoyed your lunchtime power hour, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one.
Yeah.
Bye.
Goodbye.